Hello, everybody. My name is Margaret Pennard, and welcome to my channel. You're on Booktube, and really on Booktube, because today we're doing a classic genre Booktube tag. So everyone get your nostalgia hats on and join in. Okay, so I muted the other tab. We're all good to go. Welcome! This is my live book tag, and it's not a Tag Tuesday. It's on a Wednesday, but that's because we're shifting around based on analytics and trying to figure out a better schedule. We're going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag, as you saw from the thumbnail. Now, I did a little preview of this for the Authortubers last week, and I had help from my friends Gyasi Carpenter and Christy Stratos, and we had buckets of fun. So hopefully you all enjoyed that video, and now we're going to be returning to the OG tag, mid-year book freakout, which has been around for years and years and years. So before we get started, I want to say hello to the people who came by to say hello and drop a comment and engage. Hi, Nick. Dropping by to say hello and give some love to the like button since I'll be in class. But hi, have a great stream. Thank you so much. Shannon doing the same. SD Houston stopping by to say hi and make friends with the like button. I'll be driving to get the kiddo from summer camp. That sounds fun. Take him to therapy. Leave this up for your watch time. Such a sweetheart. She's also listening in the car, but last time my son asked to stop playing your stream and turn on music. Pain in the butt, but love how verbal he's becoming. Yes, that we will take as a win, right? Rachel, our case Stumbling Bear, is here, joining you for the first half of my lunch. Bon appetit, or itadakimasu, and she will watch the rest of the replay afterwards. Sounds great. Anita of AF Stewart is here. Beth Ann Burning a Sokolar is here. Hello, everybody. Welcome. So as we're going through these books, there are a lot of books. Just to warn you beforehand, this is going to be a long one because I have lots of books. I've made them all into overlays. It took like an hour. So, maybe I could do the same thing that S.T. Houston did, making her book cover and do a time lapse of the screen capture of me making all the overlays, because it's like watching an ant farm, really. All right, so this will be a long one, but hopefully by the end of the hour, we'll be circling back, finishing up, and I'll be giving you a preview of all the readathons that I'll be participating in for the second half of the year, because it's nice to have a preview of what your friends are doing, and you might want to join in, and maybe that's your planning horizon. I don't know, different for everyone. So that'll be the last question in the tag. There's no people to tag for this one because it's been out so long and people do it so early, and so if this is the first time you're seeing it, feel free to jump in and do it yourself, or just contribute to the questions that you want to down in the comments. Either way. The upcoming events I wanted to highlight before I get started on the prompts are this Friday. I have First Friday's productivity sprint, as always. First Friday of the month, I do 9 to 11 Pacific time, a productivity sprint on my channel. We just hang out, chat, and do sort of like quiet time sprints on whatever you're working on. It's just sort of moral support and a little bit of reward, dopamine reward for getting your stuff done. And then later on Friday, what we have is I'm going to be on Mia's channel. So if you don't know, Vixen of Fiction is a great booktuber / authortuber, and she's going to be doing the writer's wrap-up, which she does every month, and I am a guest this month. So we'll be talking about various writer topics, but also cluing you into some of the Jane Austen July collaboration efforts that Mia and I will be working on. Some on her channel, some on my channel, because we both love Jane Austen. So that's that. Friday. And then shout out to the big thing coming up on Authortube in July, the Authortube Writing Conference, July 15th through 17th. So if you haven't heard about this, it's going to be author-centered. So if you're a writer looking to get writing advice, if you're a writer looking to get publishing advice, those are the two tracks. It will be going on Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. think. And my talk is going to be on Sunday at 10 a.m. for me, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be talking about organizing for successful virtual community events, which, why do I talk about that? Because I've done a few. Here on Authortube Booktube, you might know the February Black Authortuber readathon that we did. That was pretty chill earlier this year. I floated that as like an experiment just to get people supporting others in our community. I've had May of the Moderns 2 years running-ish, and that is a much more complex thing that I was trying to arrange and more gears turning. And then I've also helped co-host Yola Book Afloat, which is a book festival with authors on YouTube as well as in real life. So I'll be reflecting on how I prepared for those, how I researched, how I connected, how I set myself up for success in all the ways that I could. And hopefully that will help any authors out there who want to, I don't know, put on some events, already help people with live streaming stuff. So basically this is my, here, let me help you with all the stuff that I've learned, and maybe you can go out and do a really cool thing with it that I never thought of. So passing it on. Okay, so those are the big things. I've got more events as we go, but let's jump into the prompts. Unless there are more people to say hello to. Cool Gamer, hello. JC is here, hello. Nia is here, hello. Ears are burning, of course. And Chrissy is here from the return cart. And Chrissy's going to get a shout out later, so I'm glad she's here too. All right, so let's start and pop any questions that you have. So first prompt is, okay, best book you've read so far this year. And of course, I'm not going to do one best book because that is not how we roll. We're going to do 7. So let me jump into the overlays because we got to get this party started sometime. And you know you love it. You know you love it. So 7 in no particular order. I have not ranked these. These are just like what came to mind as my favorite reads this year so far. And hopefully Queen of Books You've Never Heard Of will come through. And some of these will be new to you, but you'll want to snap them up right away. So first we have a book by my friend, Lara Messersmith-Glavin. She is a Portland author, and her book, Spirit Things, is a essay collection that reads like poetry. She is part of the Fisher Poets, and this is sort of a memoir based on objects. So she goes through 15 or so different objects as a starting point to relate stories about her life as a child growing up on a fishing boat in Alaska, as well as a very interesting, radical, challenging, she's got a lot of interesting things going on. And I think a lot of people who like exciting new reads will like her point of view if you're on my channel. So that is first pick for favorite books read this year. I ate it up really quickly. I think I read this book in 2 days. So if you are wondering, the links to purchase all these books are down below. I made it easy for you. They're affiliate links, so I make a few pennies if you find them on Bookshop through me. Next, we have, let's see, Spirit Things. Oh, this is a classic that I only got around to last month. So I haven't even reviewed this yet. So I won't say too much about it except to say that it's all over Booktube. 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. And it's nonfiction. It's a series of letters written by a woman in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, corresponding with the owner and staff of a bookshop in the UK. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil it because it was so beautiful when I finally got to it. And it wasn't what I expected, but it's real letters. So if you're a lover of letters and want something comfy and cozy, oh my gosh, you definitely need to settle into this book and come back to it because I'm definitely going to have to come back to it again and again. Let me take this down and revisit our comments here. Oh, Jenna the Soul Writer. Hello, hello. Oh, I'm my favorite person. Thank you. Chrissy says, shootout? I think I said shout out. Did I say that wrong? Shout, but we'll be clicking on those book links. Yay. Jenna's best books: Tears of the Marigold, Blind Spot, Nightmare Tenant, Blood Like Magic, The Keeper's Vow, The Bone Labyrinth. Nice. Those are all sounding like indie books. That is a Heart in the right place. I love it. I love the rep. Thank you, Jenna. Anita says, an interesting book I read was The Peyton Place Murder, the true crime story behind the novel that shocked the nation. So if you're a true crime fan, Anita's got a rec for you. And I will circle back for questions. It just occurs to me I didn't put the links in for the events I mentioned earlier. So let me quickly pop those in. Productivity Sprint Friday. Pow. And Writers Wrap Up. Mia's Writers Wrap Up. Kapow. Or Kachow. Sorry, it's Kachow, isn't it? So now that I've got those links in the chat, let's proceed with the next book and my overlays. So this came from May of the Moderns. So one of the readathons that I've organized is based on books written in the first half of the 20th century. And Zora Neale Hurston is a giant of that time period. She's under Black classics, nonfiction, fiction, many categories. She is at the top. So Tell My Horse is a nonfiction book from her time doing sociological research in Jamaica, and I was going to say the DR, but now I'm thinking that's wrong. She went to 2 countries in the West Indies at that point and did political research, did cultural sort of analysis, and also related her own sort of shadings of understanding of the cultures from the American Black woman's perspective. And it was phenomenal. I loved it. So I went in going, book from the 30s about sociology. How dated is it going to be? But she has a sharp tongue, and I was here for it. It was great. So if you find a copy down below, I would definitely recommend this. You can save it for next year's May of the Moderns, or you can just read this year and recommend it to other people later. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and next one is also from May of the Moderns this year. And this is the book that I buddy read with Chrissy of the Return Cart. So I will pop the link up above. All Passion Spent by Vita Sackville-West. And again, I was a little trepidatious going into this one because I've read another of her books that was not that great. But this one was a ball. It was, well, you'll have to check out the video for our in-depth discussion, but it was a lovely treatment of a woman at the end of her life, letting go and giving 0 fucks. I mean, she struggled a little, and we all have that struggle, which made it so relatable. So that is why this is a best read, because it's good for the moment. It's like a little, what's her name? Oh, I just blanked on her name. It's not Lucy. What's the other girl's name in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? The one who gets the bow and arrow. Oh, she doesn't. Scratch that. Lucy gets the healing potion. This book is a little bit like Lucy's healing potion in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's like a little shot of, yes, you can do this. Keep going. Keep letting go. You can do it. Okay, so that's 4. 5. Ooh, yes, this is an important one. So Fox and I, An Uncommon Friendship by Catherine Raven. And I've talked about this before. This is in the category of a nature memoir that is written by someone who has had a very interesting life. She grew up basically, I forget what it's called, liberated from her home or ran away, like early, leaving her parents at age 16 or so and going to college early and, being super smart, but wanting to get away from the people, like the opposite of Ariel, going where the people are. And so she got a PhD in biology, has all these like really interesting expertises, but also spent a lot of time alone in the outdoors doing research or conservation work or what have you with the National Park Service. And here's the ringer today. Catherine Raven is going to be on A Mighty Blaze, and I'm getting to produce as part of the Authors Love Bookstore's weekly show. So I'm doing this at 11. We're going to be on at 1 Pacific time. That's 4 p.m. Eastern if you want to tune in and hear more from Catherine Raven. And I'm so excited to meet her behind the scenes. So I'm very complimentary of this book. It's a beautiful, meditation on our relationship with nature, and lots of other layers. Lots of other layers. So I got to speed up or I'm not going to get through this in an hour. 2 more for favorites. So you've seen this one before. I already raved about this one. The Purpose of Power, How We Come Together When We Fall Apart by Alicia Garza. And this was a book that I feel like I wish I had known this person at the time I was growing up and wanting to do these sorts of things, and, you know, sort of had formed a group like she did and learned as she did, because it's not jealousy. It's just, you know, major like alternate universe me vibes of like what I want to do in the world, but haven't yet found a way to do it. So Alicia Garza is an activist, one of the 3 women who started Black Lives Matter as a movement. And she talks about her beginnings, her family roots, her starting out in the justice movement, and some of the things that have like parallels is what made it so meaningful for me, working with AmeriCorps, being in California, which is not often, I think, what people hear about. So that was really cool. So definitely recommend. And then the final best book, number 7, is Transcendent Kingdom by Gyasi. And this is a book that I read, Buddy read with Nikki of Red Dot Reads and Sandy of Misreads a lot. And so we did a lot of Voxer talking on this one. We did a lot of messages with, oh my God, that section, that was so beautiful. I love Gyasi's writing. I can't wait to read Homegoing. It's one of those books I keep putting off, like a handful of others, because I know it's going to be really good. And so I want to like save it, because that's a weird me thing. So yeah. Okay. So that was prompt number 1. Yes, we got through it. Yeah, so Chrissy's talking about all passion spent. She gave 0 Fs. None could be seen. Susan, but yes, Lucy gets to heal. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I got it eventually. Jenna says, yay. And Rachel says, emancipated is when you legally separate from your parents. Liberated. I was close, but thank you. Thank you. That is the right term. And legally, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. People coming to my rescue when my verbal skills desert me. Okay, so the next prompt question, as we're tabbing back over here, best sequel you've read so far. Now, I know this is a goal for some people. There's even a readathon where you read sequels to try to catch up in your series reading. And I don't have that sort of built-in loyalty to like finish a series or feel obligated. A lot of times I read the first one and I'm like, it's okay, but I don't want to, I don't need to explore it more. I'd rather explore a new author than stick with one that hasn't like wowed me. So sequels. I had 2 that I came up with that were good examples, very satisfying. They weren't, I don't think I'd call them 5-star reads, but they were solid, they were enjoyable, they were fast-paced, and one was better than the other. So let me tell you my favorite so far. It was Thunderhead by Neale Shusterman. This is the sequel to Scythe in the Scythe trilogy, and I have not yet read the last one. So I'm drawing it out painfully, but they are very engaging and get you swept up and right back in, like all the politics and the intrigue, and it was great. The other one was Ravenflight by Juliet Marillier and Shadowfell novel. Right. The first one's called Shadowfell. And I liked that one. I like this one a little bit less, but still a solid, good read. And Juliet Marillier has a lot of books in her catalog. So I'd be curious if anyone has an opinion on some of her other series. I know they're fantasy, adventure, often with young girls as heroines. The other thing I wanted to point out was that both of these sequels are YA. And so that may be why I'm just kind of like, they're very good. They're solid reads, but they're not like my favorite because that's not where I am right now. I just needed a break and sort of a switching of gears when I was reading. So these definitely came through for that. So that is prompt number 2. Prompt number 3, let me get the wording right over here. New release you haven't read yet but want to. And I've got 2 for this one. So let me make sure I'm caught up with all of the things that I said. Yes, yes. Oh, okay. Let me put in the links for Fox and I before I forget. So this is the link to, whoops, it's not. Oh no, I didn't pick it up. I've got double JD links instead of the Catherine Raven one. Did I? Yes, yes, I did. Darn it. Okay. Well, I'll put the information in, and if you look up Catherine Raven, I think we're like the third search in Google, at least in my YouTube's situation. So I hope to see you later today to talk to Catherine Raven about Fox and I. And speaking of books that are out that I haven't read yet, that's the other link. So that's the other event that's happening today. Let me put the link in there and then go back to, ta-da, 2020. Okay, so if you know me, you probably know JD Estrada, a fellow authortuber, and he has been working on a collection of poetry and short stories called 2020 that started out as some Spanish, some English poems and short stories mixed up. And what he then did is say, you know what, I want to do the extremely difficult exercise of translating the ones that I had in English to Spanish and the ones I had in Spanish to English, so that now we're going to have a 2020, a 2020, and a 2020. 2020 is out, and he's going to be talking about it later today on his channel. So I have put his channel, his channel in the chat. And if you're not already subscribed, please do. He doesn't have a lot of videos lately, but he's fantastic. So when they do pop up, you'll have a pleasant surprise from Double O Bananas, likely. And it is 7 p.m. Eastern, I think 4 p.m. Pacific, that he will be putting on his live show first in a long time tonight. So Catherine Raven at 1 p.m. Pacific and JD Estrada at 4 p.m. Pacific, whatever that is for you. So I can't wait to read 2020, which is released May of this year. And then the other one that was released this year that I have that I can't wait to read is by another friend from Portland, Lara Stanfill. And she runs Forest Avenue Press, but this is published by a different indie press, small press. It's called Singing Lessons for the Stylish Canary. And it's, I wouldn't call it historical fantasy, but it's historical fiction that takes a very dry humor and has fantastical details and kind of feels like a fable because of the tone. She read from it, and it's both tickling your irony bone, but also really getting into deep human emotions. And so she somehow manages to do both of these in the one passage that I heard at her reading at Powell's Books. And so I can't wait to read this. I didn't bring it with me to California, but when I get back, the second half of the year, Lara's book, Singing Lessons for the Stylish Canary, is definitely on my list. So that's my TBR of new releases, which is saying something because I don't usually do new releases. So you know these are good. And then fourth prompt is what to do, trying to keep up. Fourth is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Oh boy. Okay, so I've got 3 here. Most anticipated release, because these are all fabulous people as well. And then we're going to start mixing up the prompts because I don't like the order that they were in because it jumps all around. So we're going to mix it up. Most anticipated. Let's see. Where did I put the overlay? Here we go. Okay, so here's the first one by another friend and published by Forest Avenue Press. So Neale Cochrane is another not native, but Portland resident along with me, and we used to work at the same bookstore, another read through. So shout out indie bookstores that are no longer. His story, The Story of the 100 Promises, is a novel that is coming out it's in the description, October 4th. There we go, October 4th. and it is a queer retelling of Beauty and the Beast-ish. So I'm looking for it to be pretty far afield from that, with like lots of smart commentary and beautiful language, because I read one or two of his books before, and he's so creative, and I'm so excited that this is coming out from such a great publisher in Forest Avenue Press, and cannot wait. So this is definitely on the docket for the year. I've got two more. The next one is Leslie's book. So Elle Penelope is coming out with a historical fiction called The Monsters We Defy. And this, let's see, this is 1920s, 1930s DC, which is going to be fantastic. Elle Penelope has her own Authortube channel. It's a podcast that you can also see as a video, which is how I prefer to watch/listen. And this is coming out August 9th, I believe, the same as the last book on my new release list. It's particularly meaningful to me because I lived right down the street from the U Street area and have heard a little bit of the history, the African-American history, the corridor, the neighborhoods. I've seen the houses. I think that it will feel pretty familiar in terms of where she's placed things, but it's also fantasy because she's a fantasy author. And so like the coming together of a location I know with history that I know a little bit of, combined with like magic and social justice, is like perfect. So I'm very, very excited for this one coming out on August 9th. And the last one is one that I'm sure you've all heard about, from another Authortuber, Liselle Sambury, who has a fantastic channel and is very, very helpful, has wonderful content. Blood Like Fate, which is the sequel to Blood Like Magic, which Shannon and Bethan and I had a buddy read of back in February. So if I have room, I'll pop that one up later too. Yes, so I think this is a duology. So this is like the culmination of the very complex and fascinating universe that Liselle has set up with Blood Like Magic. So very excited for this one, also coming out on August 9th. So yay. Let's see, check in here since I think I have a little break. Let's see, Rachel says, I like Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier. I think I've read that one as well. I liked it, but only the first book. Book 2 got really weird and I didn't like book 3 at all. Oh boy, okay. Nathan says, I like the cover of JD's book. Yep, they're all similar. The little glasses. He's a kick. Jenna says, need to get ready to go out for some groceries. Check that like button, lovelies. Leaving open for their playtime because you're amazing. Nia says, looking forward to this one too. Both of these. Yeah, right? Historical fantasy. Right there. Just Eva, hello. Love that cover for The Monsters We Defy. Leslie has some fantastic covers, so definitely check out her website. She has, like I said, the YouTube channel, but also her website has links to buy the indie books direct, which is what I did in February when I first learned about her. So yes. Shannon says, can't wait for Lizelle's book. And Bethan says, still need to read Blood Like Magic. Oh, I thought we talked about that. Okay, well then who else was in our group? Shannon. Someone else is in our group. I never forgot. There were a lot of buddy reads going on in February and May, so my brain. Oh, and I forgot to press send. There we go. There's the link for JD's channel to go check out for the live stream tonight. Leah Lindemann, Pen to Paper, is here. Hello. And Rachel is heading back to work. Glad we could be with you for the first half of your lunch. Enjoy the rest of the day. Okay, it was just us. I don't know. I invent things. What can I say? It's an authorial license. That's what I'm gonna stick with. Okay, so the next part, and thank you all who have come in and gone out and hit the like button. So don't forget to like, subscribe if you enjoy these types of books, and pop in any questions if they have stirred up any recommendations or questions about other books. So the next one I'm going to skip and go for prompt 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and you'll see why at the end. So prompt number 6, let's see if I can keep up here. 6 is the biggest surprise. My biggest surprise. Let's see. I have 3 for this one. two that were not what I expected, and one that was just so much better than I expected. So the overlay for this, as always, is going to be hard to find amid the 100 I have in here. So Milltown. I don't know that I talked about this much, except to say that Heidi at My Reading Life was the person who alerted me to this book. It's by Carrie Arsenault, who is a Maine writer, has been a freelancer for most of her life, as well as married to a Coast Guard person who that meant that she traveled all around, has been to a bunch of places. So she has a story about the town that she grew up in. It's partly industrial investigative journalism. It's partly family genealogy. It's partly how do you feel a part of a town that you grew up in, but you're an interloper to when you come back to it. It's a very interesting examination of so many different layers of issues that dovetail with my life. And so I really liked this book. And as I said before, it was a little hard for me to hear it for whatever reason. I listened to it and I think I would have preferred the written version because of the accent of the narrator or my ear, whichever it was, but just that slight caveat for anyone who is interested in picking up Milltown. Then we've got, and I guess surprised because I didn't know that it would be so layered. I thought it was going to be the mills closed down, the pollution is still there. What is the town doing? And there was just a lot more memoir and struggle in there, and I really appreciated that. The other one that was a similar type of surprise and actually related, which is why I'm putting these two together again, is Oak Flat by Lauren Redness. This is a fight for sacred land in the American West. And this is someone who, well, not to talk about Lauren Redness, I haven't looked her up. The book is about the history of and fight for preserving a mountain monument as a reserve or a sacred mountain in southeastern Arizona, New Mexico, one of the two, which was Apache territory. And so it talks about the ceremonies that they would do on it, the battle for use of the land, the economic growth around the land and how that influenced the people who live there. So you're not only getting like a native point of view of preserve our culture, you're also getting why white people settled there, which is to mine, and how the different waves of mining have led to a huge multinational corporation that wants to do a type of mining that could lead to subsidence and the destruction of the whole mountain. So it's like ongoing cultural theft and destruction, and presented in a way that talks about personal stories from everyone around the issues, like the people who were mining and can't do it anymore, people who were sneaking onto the mountain to do ceremonies, people who were part of cultural ceremonies that went to protest and be activists in Washington, D.C. to help save it. And the most ridiculous part of it is that the reason that the government wanted to, or not the government, the reason that the mountain was being taken away from the native tribe was that the Vatican wanted to put an observatory on the top. What? They're in Italy. Why the hell do they get land in the American Southwest that is sacred to people that want to have nothing to do with them? So this is a great issue to be aware of, and a surprise, because like so many things are surprises, so many struggles that we don't get to hear of. And the final surprise was one that I've shown you already, which was Transcendent Kingdom. And I've talked about it already, but I didn't do a standalone review, so I need to hurry up. Transcendent Kingdom, wonderful writing, layered social issues, just not only issues I hadn't heard expressed in this way, but also the structure, the plotting, the pacing, the way it unfolds is so tender and poetic and moving. So yeah, 5-star read, and this is, yeah, great book. I'm at a loss for words. Okay, Bethan says she did watch our discussion of Blood Like Magic. Maybe that was it. Nia's got to get Loki fed, leaving and running. We'll watch the rest later. Thank you, Nia. The Vatican wanted to put up an observatory. Why? I know, right? They got in with the university and lobbied enough to build, and it's, yeah. All right, so that is 6, biggest surprise. The next prompt is 7, favorite new author or new to you. So for this one, there's some repeats. Sorry you have to suffer through some repeats. But favorite new author to me, I think this came out in 2021, but it feels like a long time ago. Fox and I by Catherine Raven. Again, A Mighty Blaze's channel is having a discussion on this with the author, and I get to be back behind the scenes, which is super exciting. Nature memoir talking about Fox's biology, relationship with nature. I keep wanting to ask booksellers what they recommend if I loved this book, and no one has come up with anything. So I don't think anyone will have an answer to that question because the book is so unique, but I will keep searching, and I hope that Catherine Raven puts out another book because we want more. And then the other one is Gyasi. So yeah, third time's a charm for new author to me, and I do have Homegoing to read, so I'm excited to read that later. 7, 8 is newest fictional crush. And for this one, what did I put in? 1, 2. Okay, so I've got 2 answers for this one. There's a lot to keep track of. I've got multiple tabs, and I've got my planner open. So that's what all the madness is. Fictional crush. Let's see. Okay, so in the general sense of you really want to hang out with these people and you think they're fascinating and they're just really well done, I'm going to use The Cold Millions by Jess Walter for this. And I discussed this with Joe of Go Indie Now. We did a indie traditional book swap, and this is right in my bailiwick. It's historical fiction that talks about social justice at the beginning of the 20th century, and it's also set in the Pacific Northwest in Spokane. So I was like the other non-Seattle, other end of the state, Spokane, Washington. And you've got labor movements and wobblies and historical figures that make appearances. And the characters here, I actually brought up a piece to read from someone's description on Goodreads of The Cold Millions. This book is not only a story of class conflict, but also a coming-of-age story and a tale of adventure involving spies, a beautiful singer who faces possible death every performance in the cage of a mountain lion. She's a fantastic character. Fictional crush. A dynamic 19-year-old female labor organizer who just happens to be pregnant. Several detective types who work at cross purposes. It's funny. And a dignified Spokane Indian laborer whose language and culture have been taken from him. He was a very interesting character. Interesting subplots and twists. They don't mention, but one of the spies who you don't know, well, I don't want to spoil it, but one of the spies is a very interesting character as well. So lots of fictional crushes going on because of the way Jess Walter writes his characters. And so this is why I would recommend this book. Loved it. 5 stars earlier this year. And the other one for fictional crushes was a fellow indie author's book. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There we go. Okay, To Love in Silence by Emily Harris. And she is another authortuber, has stepped back from making video content, but she does a great newsletter. So I think that would be the best way to keep up with her at the moment. She does lots of sales and lots of great short content in her newsletters. She writes historical romance, and I really liked the hero in this book. He is he represents someone who has lost his hearing in his lifetime, who ends up using that perceived disability as a way to spy for his country's cause during the Napoleonic Wars. And he's a sweetheart. So I don't know if he'd be called, what's the word? A cinnamon roll, maybe? The spies thing kind of complicates it, but a sweetheart in any event. And so I definitely recommend this one. And I still have another of Emily Harris's to go. So I'm excited for that, for a little bit of palate cleansing between all the heavy nonfiction and serious subject ones. So yes. Number 9, prompt number 9 is newest favorite character. So fictional crushes are kind of standing in for favorite characters at the moment. But, oh, I forgot to make this one transparent. Okay, well, I'll just be invisible for this one. This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. This was an epic surprise. I probably could have put this in the surprise category as well. It's a novella that is a sci-fi fantasy, and it's basically switching points of view between two characters who are enemies, but who come to some sort of detente about what their line of work is and what the meaning of fighting is. And so I thought this was so crafty is not the word, but clever, and clever in the way that a heart surgeon slices into something so gracefully that it is the least amount of damage, but you're also getting to the heart of the thing, if that makes sense, if that works as a metaphor at all. It's actually a good metaphor for that book. So this is How You Lose the Time War. Really, really good. Okay, so I'm at 9 and 11. Let me get through prompt number 11, and then we'll take another mini break. Book that made you happy. So made me happy. We're gonna go with a book that I listened to, and actually this one works for made me cry too. I remember listening to this one as I was weeding out in the backyard here earlier this year. I think this is from this year. I hope this is from this year. It's supposed to be 2022. Maybe it's not. Anyway, apologies if it's not current, but Together by Vivek Murthy, who is a former Surgeon General of the U.S. This is a book that is describing the healing power of human connection in a sometimes lonely world. It's, I don't know if I would call it a medical memoir, because it's more his treatment of people as human beings in a trash fire of a healthcare system that is America's right now. And so he brings a lot of research, a lot of personal experience, a lot of other people's stories, a lot of people's stories who are engaged in the fight for healthcare rights, and especially the angle about feeling lonely and depressed and having addictions and that side of getting treatment. So I thought this was a beautiful book. He has a very soothing voice. It's a very nice audiobook to listen to. So this made me happy. He had lots of like good stories as well as terrible statistics. So happy, cry, happy, cry. Two faces of the same coin, right? Okay, so we're up to 11. And this is when I was going to take a little pause. Here we go. Yay, Beth Ann says, I've been getting really into author newsletters lately. Gonna go check out Emily Harris. Sweet. Cinnamon Roll, Who Could Kill You? Well, so he's a spy, right? So his forte is the information passing. It's not the highwayman or the person scaling the cliff to smuggle in stuff. So yeah, I mean, obviously he's, what is it, stacked? I don't even know the words for these things anymore, but a handsome specimen, let's say. But I don't think he goes out to violent encounters too often. Shannon says, I didn't know about Emily's newsletter, so going to sign up now. Woohoo! Yay! Excellent. Let me take that down. And the final piece. Oh, I was going to ask what you guys are currently reading, so feel free to chime in with that in the comments. The last few prompts, 5, 10, 12, and 13, because these are like the sad or disappointing ones, and I didn't want to like go from happy to sad to back. So let's group those together and then end on a high note, right? So 5, biggest disappointment. So I didn't put these up because I don't want to like highlight them. I was really looking forward to more of a bang with Segu, which is a West African French translated classic. I thought it had all the elements that I would love. It's historical saga. It goes over, you know, like 50 years. It goes through multiple generations of a family. It talks about the introduction of the white people into West Africa and this empire, but also many different characters' journeys of how they deal with the foreigners and how they deal with the rise and fall of different powers, basically. And parts of it were interesting, but too many characters, too many events really sort of lost me. It didn't cohere enough. That could be the translator, but it was a disappointment. I'll read another Maryse Condé because she has such a great reputation. But this one, for like the 500, 600, 700 pages, whatever it was, and 5 months that it took me to get through, was sort of a disappointing end. In that same vein, I put Night Clay and Fire Song, which are mass market paperbacks that I picked up to be fun paranormal romance romps, and not palate cleansers really, but just like breaks and escapes from the heavier topics. And the plot and the characters just really didn't stand up to a story. So those are disappointing too, but easily thrown away, easily recycled, I should say. It's $4 mass market paperbacks, but not ones that I would recommend. So there we go. What's my next prompt? 10. Number 10 is book that made you cry. So together could work for this, but the one that I picked out for this was an audiobook that I listened to on the drive down south, A Fighting Chance by Elizabeth Warren. So this is definitely dated. It's I think it was released in 2011, 2012. So it's before her run for president, and it's mostly about her election to the Senate to begin with, and her fight against Wall Street, and her introduction into politics from being a lawyer who specializes in bankruptcy, which I didn't know. So I learned a lot about bankruptcy protections and how it interacts with the middle class, and how the banks have been predatory, which I knew, but I didn't know the details of. So it was great nonfiction reading for a political animal. But speaking of animals, at the end, her dog dies at the end, right as she's in the campaign and has won. And so that ending was like, I had to drive with tears in my eyes. That was kind of hard. So this is the one that popped up in my mind as like book that made me cry. But it was a very short piece, and for most of the book, she's very positive and informative and direct, and you really get a sense of who she is as a person. And I love that she read it because I liked listening to her tell her own story. It was great. So that's 10. We've got 2 more. 12. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. And so for this one, I've seen lots of people put up books for most beautiful covers. Actually, not even for this tag, but just have a book haul or a comment on a book and go, isn't this cover gorgeous? And I'm like, I mean, it's nice, but it's not stunning. So I didn't have one that was stunning that came to mind, but I had one that I really liked because of the colors and the shading and the symbolism. So this is The Seed Keeper by Diane Wilson, and I got this several months ago, and it's on my TBR for later in the year. Diane Wilson is an Indigenous author, and this is dealing with characters who are talking about generational trauma issues as well as modern day. It's not historical, it's modern day Indigenous lit. So I don't know too much about it other than that it's been recommended by the people I follow on YouTube, and it has a beautiful cover, and it's gonna be on Indigathon's TBR if not sooner. So that is my answer for that one. And final prompt is 13. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Okay, so this is another long answer, so let me check in before I launch into it and maybe get a drink of water. Let's see. Current reads, yes. Oh, Oh, this is my favorite comment. Okay, Beth Ann says, a handsome specimen. That's how I talk about my boy bees. But then is a bee scientist, so that's what she means by boy bees. That's hilarious. Thank you. Jim's books, reading and stuff. Hello. He is currently reading AWOL on the Appalachian Trail and The Master and Margarita. Excellent. Shannon's laughing at Beth Ann. Beth Ann's got to sweet talk the bees. It's not all smoke and mirrors then, is it? Chrissy says that's how I'm going to refer to bees from now on. I mean, you can call a lot of things handsome specimen. Yay. Beth Ann says, yeah, covers are subjective. It's just, I think it's part of also like the hype thing. I hate being on a hype train. So when people seem like they're exaggerating something, I kind of go, come on. Like, no, cover effusion, inflation, if you follow my drift. So yeah, but again, it is subjective. So they could be really excited about it. It's just not my thing. Okay, need to read by 2023. So what do we have in the second half of the year that I need to read? Coming up, and let me just like trace back to my shout out to Nia at the beginning of this. Nia's channel, The Vixen of Fiction, and I are doing some collaborations on Wednesdays for July because it is Jane Austen July, and I've got the hosts. So it's Kate Howe, Claudia at Spinster's Library, and Marissa at Blatantly Bookish. So I finally got it right after watching several other Jane Austen July TBRs. Sorry about that, neglecting that earlier. But Nia and I are going to do some reading sprints as tea parties and flash fiction sprints related to Jane Austen. So if you're in for that good time, tune in Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, I believe. Nia already has her first video up and I do not, but I will start having them up. I just try not to do it too early. So there we go. So Emma is definitely on my list to read. Have I read this? Yes, I must have read this because I know we had Clueless come out and we did a comparison in high school. So reread Emma. That's all I have on my list for Jane Austen July at the moment because I'm not doing all the prompts. That's July. August. Okay, so here is what you've been waiting for, the readathons that I'm participating in for the rest of the year. So July is Jane Austen. August has WITS, which is Women in Translation. So let's see. For that one, where'd it go? It's a mystery. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't key that one up. Carolina and the Torn Curtain is a book that I got on my Boston trip last year. And it's a book in translation from Polish. And I didn't bring up the author for some reason because I thought I would just shout out the readathons instead of telling you the books. But WITS in August. September has the Hispanic Heritage Month readathon, which is called Latinx-a-thon, I think. And for that one, I want to read The Last Train to Key West, which I've been trying to read for a while, but I got to The Most Beautiful Girl in Cuba first. I'm not sure why, but that's what I'm reading now. I'm 60 pages from the end, and it's really exciting right now. I didn't want to put it down, but I had to do all those overlays today, so I had to put it down this morning. I'm very excited. That author is Chanel Clayton. And so, yes, Latinx-a-thon reading for September. October, as you know, is Victober when we read Victorian literature. So let me pop over to the tabs that I have open here. Yes, let's do this one. So am I sharing? Let's see. No, not yet. Okay. So here's my Victober tags and what I own and what I haven't read yet. So I just filtered over on Storygraph. Can you not? Why is this in the way? Anyway, it won't go away. Storygraph. So the ones that I had here are A Circle of Sisters by Judith Flanders, about real life people who, I don't know, had a little family commune going. So that sounds really exciting. I got that a couple years ago, but didn't manage to read it last year. And then the other one I got lying in wait for me, is The Odd Women by George Gissing. And that I'm very excited about. I know Jim has read that one, I think, for the last Victober, and had a good report, I think. So yeah. So that's my Victober. I just had 2 that I brought up based on tags. If I was at home in Portland, I would have a whole shelf to be able to pull out from, but they're obviously not all updated on Storygraph. So that's what I got. In November, it's Indigathon. So let's see. Did it switch over to the right one? No, not yet. Okay, so it's not doing what I want it to. Stop. Share. Window. All right, bear with me here for this. And now we should have the right window up. It's going to be a pain. Thanks. Thanks, Storygraph. Okay, so in Digithon, what you're going to see here is The Seed Keeper, which is on here from before, and The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley, which is another one that I'm very excited to read. But yeah, so those are my Indigathon picks. You're seeing read and unread in here because of the filter that I put on. But those 2 definitely, maybe Braiding Sweetgrass, or maybe I'll get to that earlier, who knows. And then mystery. So for December, I don't know why, but it seems like a good month for mysteries. Maybe it's just because it's a cozy month, so I want to just tear through all the mystery and romance that I can. And Mary Stewart is perfect for that because she's mystery and romance, and a favorite old school author. So queen of books you've never heard of. There you go. But I also am interested in Attica Locke's The Cutting Season. I picked up a copy of that at Backstory, and although it's not going to work for my Patreon book club because too many people have read it, it's not me. I will probably be reading it in December anyway. Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. It's another mystery nature one that I've heard is really good. And there's the one that I talked about for August for the Wits readathon. Marillier Smyskova with Antonia Lloyd-Jones as the translator. How do you think I did on the pronunciation? So looking forward to that one. Oh. We're going to have the sirens through the window. So those are the readathons and reading plans that I loosely have for the rest of the year. If you're listening to this on the replay, feel free to mention a book that you are excited about for the second half of the year. I hope you can all join me for the tea party next month with Nia, Vixen of Fiction. I hope I see you later today on A Mighty Blaze in the chat, and at JD's channel to talk about 2020. I haven't bought 2020 yet, but it is available on Amazon. You can check down below. And I'm waiting till his stream to buy it because I wanted there to be like a bump during the stream, like when Barrett Laurie interviews people with their debut launches on his channel, and we get, dozens of sales in 1 or 2 hours, and it just that warms the cockles of an author's heart. So I felt like I would, want to contribute to that while JD is live streaming tonight. And then maybe I'll see you this Friday at the Productivity Sprint here on my channel, or later on Nia, Vixen of Fiction's channel for her writer's wrap up with, I think, 5 other people. So lots to talk about, lots of laughs to be had. I'm excited for that. It'll be a good release. So I'm just going to catch up on the comments. Ooh, Leah says, love the Jane Austen plans. I'm rereading Persuasion. Yes, because there's a new adaptation coming out on Netflix, and we're all very excited or worried for it to come out. Anita says, I've read 4 of the main Jane Austen 6. Way to go. Nathan says, reread Emma and rewatch Clueless. I mean, highlight, right? Highlight of the month. Jim says, I have Persuasion for Jane Austen July. Excellent choice. It is my favorite of all of the Jane Austen 6. For Women in Translation, Jim is already planning along with me to participate. We just had a live meeting this evening looking at The Pearfield by Nana Ekvitmishvili. We had copies in German and Georgian. That's really exciting. I guess that's an in real life group over in Tbilisi, which is fabulous. And English. Got it. Shannon says October would be a good month for me to try out Christy Stratos' novels. If you mean because it's Victober, it's for books that were written during the Victorian period. So like May of the Moderns is books written during the first half of the 20th century. Victober is for books written from 1837 to 1901, which is what May of the Moderns carries on from. But they might have a prompt that is including historical fiction set during that time. So you never know. Any time is a good time to try reading Christy Stratos' novels. I'm trying to think if I know of a readathon between now and then that is like spooky horror. There's probably, oh, maybe that's what you meant. It's because it's spooky horror. October is Halloween month. Never mind. Beth Ann says, Pearfield sounds interesting, Jim. It's quite dark, set in a children's home in 1990s Georgia. Yes. Jim says The Odd Woman was a read-along with Katie of Books and Things before I was on Booktube back in May. Oh. Yeah, I missed that because I joined in July. We joined about the same time. Yeah, so I missed that. Do I have a link for Mighty Blaze? I forgot to do it ahead of time. So let me go look it up now that I have one more minute. Just supplying my own TikTok music here. Let's put this up for folks and then, oops, grab the link. Thinking. I should stop sharing. That would probably help. Stop. There we go. Think. There we go. Okay, so chat. Okay, so yes, Wednesday today, Catherine Raven on AMB, A Mighty Blaze, and JD Estrada on his channel. I've just dropped the link for Catherine Raven in 1 hour in the chat. What else? There's lots of stuff going on in July, so hope to see you later today in the chat, on Friday on my channel and Nia's channel, and at the Authortube Writing Conference for sure, where I will be on Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific, but there's lots of great stuff Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I will be sneaking in, wink, wink, somewhere on Friday morning. So, yes. You'll just have to guess where I'm going to be and where you'll find me. But otherwise, thanks for coming by today and sticking with me for all these book recommendations and, you know, the few disappointments that I put out there. Much appreciate the subscribers. Hope you have a wonderful Wednesday despite the world, and find connections with other readers that make your day wonderful too. So thanks for that. Thanks for being here. Check out the books below in the description, and I will see you again soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.